Welcome to From the Nightmares of Hike Denny, and this is Commission 12 of Feral Dolls. So for this project I'm going to make a Satyr character. My client provided reference photos and character description, and they also told me that this is supposed to be a non-binary character, so they use they them pronouns. And in case you don't know what a satyr is, well, in Greek mythology a satyr is a male nature spirit with ears and a tail resembling those of a horse. Early artistic representations sometimes include horse-like legs, but by the 6th century BC they were more often represented with human legs. Comically hideous, they have man-like hair, bestial faces, and snub noses. Satyrs were characterized by their ribaldry and were known as lovers of wine, music, dancing, and women. They were companions of god Dionysus and were believed to inhabit remote locales such as woodlands, mountains, and pastures. Before I get started, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video if you liked it of course, and comment. I love reading all your comments. With that all being said, let's get started. So for this project, me and my client chose this Clovinus doll, and in case you didn't know, this doll line is from the Monster High's movie Freaky Fusion. Basically what they did is that they fused two girls into one character, and this doll is a fusion of Claudine and Venus McFlytrap. I began as usual by warming up her head with a hairdryer, then I disconnected it from her neck. Then I cut out all her hair, which I felt bad for doing, but at the same time I don't really like vibrant color combinations, but still it was very creatively done. Then I removed her face with pure acetone. And then I removed all the glue and hair off of her head using tweezers. I also removed her buzz cut with pure acetone. I love these ears, but I had to cut them out as well. Then I stick some transparent tape to the holes where her ears used to be, and I sketched the spots. Then I stick that transparent tape to a paper tape, and I also stick that tape to 4 black copper cast thermoplastics. I cut them out, then I warmed them up and covered those ear holes with them. I also used my X-Acto knife to sort of blend the warbler to the surface of her head. And from now on I'm going to refer this doll with they them pronouns, cause after this step it's no longer the Clovinus character. I used the same material to sculpt horns for them, then I warmed them up and stick to their head. I also made the second pair of horns, and as I mentioned before, I don't have to attach wires inside their head to sculpt horns. I don't have to worry that if it's made out of clay it might crack. It's super lightweight and not really breakable. But anyhow, I stick the horns to their head and then I warm them up again and sculpt it to resemble the shape in the reference photo. I also sculpted their new ears and attached them to their place. In the reference photos, their horns have straps rolling over them, so I glued that as well. Then I glued straps over their second pair of horns. Then I painted their head sculpt white. Then the horns with a grey and white gradient. And then I painted their ears to match with their skin tone. And as usual, I used alpaca hair to reroute their head. And if you're wondering, let me tell you, yes, absolutely you can reroute the head through Warbler copper cast thermoplastics. It won't break or anything. Then I protected their hair and horns and began the repainting. I'm sorry if the skin tone change is super drastic here, I don't know why I didn't record it more gradually. I painted scleras with pan pastels, but then I actually did a layer with pencils. I took the pigment from the pencil with a wet brush for that. Then I drew the shape of their eyes, and I was also using portraits of girls that had matching complexions with the character. After I did some blushing, I began drawing their irises with a sky blue watercolor pencil. And then I added some pigment with a brush using chalk pastels. And then I slowly defined the edges of the irises and painted the pupils black. And then I added some shadows at the top of their iris. I drew their eyebrows off camera, and then I did the final layer of blushing. Then I added some white blush to their upper eyelid and near the tear duct. Also, with a dark skin tone like this, I really love to outline the cupid's bow white to make it pop a bit more. I also painted the texture of their lips. And then I finished up their eyebrows. Then I drew their eyeliner off camera with a pencil, and then I painted over it with a red acrylic paint, just like you see in the reference photo. In the reference photos, they didn't really have their edges done, but I just really wanted to paint them, so I asked my client to do that, and they didn't really want me to, but as I finished them, they really loved it. Then in the end, to finish their face up, I added some Perlex powders to their face. Then I removed their hair protection, and it was finally time to match their body with their skin tone. But before blushing, I curled their hair. I rolled their hair on a barbecue stick, and then I used my hair iron to warm it up. Then I also did the braids. And then I also curled their bangs. And this is how it looked. Then I sanded the body, and I'm really sorry about the sunlight. This was 2022 and back then I wasn't able to afford blinds, but now I finally have them and like no sunlight is distracting me anymore. But anyways, I sanded the body and then I cleaned it with alcohol. And to fast forward, this is how I blushed the body. I only used pastels for blushing, by the way, so no airbrush was used during this process. And I also covered it with Pearl-X powders. And after the hairstyling, I painted the straps on their horns white. And then I added beads to their braids, which you can see in the reference photos. I also attached earrings and ear hoops to their ears, and then I glued these caviar mini beads to their lower eyelid and near the eye crease. Then I asked my client if I could pierce their nose. They approved it, so I made the piercing from a regular wire, then I pierced it to their nose. Honestly, like, count how many times I glued this and then removed and reshaped it and then glued it again. Then I began making the outfit. Now, the reason why I never really made any traditional garments for dolls by myself is because I don't have much education in them, because reading a Wikipedia article or watching a YouTube video isn't really educating me fully, because I can't be sure whether the source material is accurate or not. I feel like you need to contact a fashion historian who is specialized in Chinese hanfus and knows the history and has some kind of degree and can provide reliable sources or books to read and to get educated. So what I'm making here is a very vaguely depiction of a hanfu, so I feel like I have to apologize to Han Chinese or Han people in general, because this isn't really accurate and I really don't want to come up as someone who is ignorant or disrespectful. I just don't have any sources and I don't have any friends or people who could possibly educate me about these garments. I thought that it's very important for me to explain it, so please keep that in mind. Also, if you happen to be a fashion historian specialized in hanfus, or maybe you are a Han Chinese and you wear hanfus and know any reliable sources, then please let us know in the comment section so that next time the garments that I make will be accurate. But anyways, this is how I made the skirt. It was a quite tedious process. I drew the lines where the pleats were supposed to be stitched. Then I stitched over those lines with my sewing machine and I folded and glued those lines together to create the pleats, and I ironed them down off camera. Then I cut out the strap to stitch the belt to the skirt. Then I folded the belt and stitched to the skirt. Then I made the sleeve pattern and I cut it out of this fabric. I'm using silk, by the way. And then I attached all these pieces together. Also, I'm sorry that this video isn't super detailed. I mean, since I'm not an expert in hanfus, I don't want to go very detailed explaining things. I also stitched the collar part. Now I finished stitching the outfit and I sent the photo to my client and they actually approved this. They just wanted me to make the belt smaller because it's a hanfu, not a kimono. So I made the belt smaller. However, even if my client was happy with the outfit, I wasn't actually. So I asked them if I could add a layer of tulle, so they approved it. Anyhow, I found this beautiful tulle stitched with beads and sequins and I bought it. I cut it out and placed it over the skirt and I stitched the edges together. Then I also stitched it to the sleeves and top. And to close the top, I stitched the snap closures and I closed the top part of the hanfu. Obviously this is on a doll scale, so snaps are more comfortable to keep things in place and create the silhouette for the small scale, and of course for a human-sized hanfu this isn't how it is folded on a body, of course. Then I put the skirt on, and as you can tell I fixed the belt as well. And this is how it looked at the end. I just did some fixing to make it sit a bit better on a doll body. And for the final touches, I attached these ribbons and pearl chains off camera, and the hanfu was finally done. Let me know if you like it despite the fact that it's unfortunately not accurate. Also in the reference photos they had hoofs, and I completely forgot to sculpt them directly to their feet using epoxy sculpt, so I decided to make them into separate shoes, so I used Worbla to do that. I traced the pattern on Worbla, then I sculpted them on their feet and then I cut them out, and this is how they looked. Then I painted them white. I also blushed in between the hoofs, red just like in the reference photo. Then I thought that the white texture looked way too plain, so I had this mesh that I cut out of a ribbon, so I decided to glue this to the shoes. This is how they looked with a mesh, and I also glued this shoelace to cover the opening edges, and I also painted them with a lighter layer of silver paint, and in the end I also added the Pearlex powders, and the doll was finally done. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and if so then please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Also shout out to my amazing Patreons, and if you would want to support my art on Patreon, the link is under this video description. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and now enjoy the end result pictures, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.